Alright, everybody, welcome to another video. I am Chaos, and welcome to my channel. If you are viewing my videos for the first time, and I want to enlighten you on what my channel is about. Now, this channel is about my life, personal experiences, raw and uncut. What my channel goal is to reach people who actually are going through the same situations that I'm going through or worse. And the reason I ask people to comment down below because I like to hear other people's experiences. I like to know what other people experiences is, and understand also from their perspective of what they went through that's even worse than what I'm going through right now. But theoretically speaking, I think it's safe to say that a lot of people are going through it right now, and it's hurting everybody. I spoke to a few people over the internet and off the internet about how crazy the job market is, because I have applied to a lot of places, and for what it's worth, it seems that a lot of jobs are not hiring. And if they are hiring, they waste your time with an interview only to tell you that they found more candidates. Now, people will say that it's easy to find a job. Of course. It's never hard to find a job. It's never hard to apply for one. The only challenge is getting the job. So, the job crisis in 2026 is getting worse and worse and worse. After I had my interview at Walmart here in Alaska, I had to go to Eagle River, and I'm just now getting back after waiting for hours and hours for the bus to show up. And I ended up finding out that the HR spoke to me, and he told me that they're cutting 50% of their hours. About, I think, 50, 500 something. I don't know what he was talking about. But they're cutting down a lot of their hours. And that is insane. Like, that is brutally insane. And so now when I questioned him, because I was trying to figure out, like, if I had a feeling like I had to go and ask questions to the HR to see what was going on. So he told me that he has to talk with the store manager, happens to be there today. But he was in a conference call. And we were waiting for him to finish his conference call. So apparently this was probably not a good time to, So the store manager decided to leave it, and the guy that's in HR, leave it in his hands. He's really cool. I'm not going to display his name due to the privacy and the respect of that person. But he is the kind of person that I would love to work with. And I'd actually like to run into more people like this particular HR person. For the sake of this video, we're going to call him John. Okay? That's not his real name, but we're going to call him John. And this guy is really good, really cool, and he's somebody that you can actually work with. He really scoped out my Um, he really scoped out my personality. He kind of understood where I was coming from. And he basically was going through the similar situation that I was going through. You know, he also understands the terrible job market in 2026 and how hard it is these days to find the job, which in most cases, a lot of people, they seem to ignore the fact that the job market in 2026 is not all bad. You know, they think that you can just, out of nowhere, you can just apply for a job and then you got it, right? If only if it was that simple. If jobs is not so difficult to get, how do you explain 14 million Americans that got laid off or losing their jobs? And now there's still surges and surges of individuals and applicants that have been at a job for 5+ years and they're still getting laid off, they're still losing their jobs or getting fired or whatever the case is. So if they're getting laid off or losing their jobs, what does that say about the jobs at the bottom? It has gotten so bad because I've done some research. I've talked to a lot of people. So when people get up here and they comment on my YouTube shorts talking about what is my problem, as if I don't know what I'm talking about, when I'm literally outside. I'm literally in the streets learning about how these jobs, I'm literally sitting at these interviews, asking questions, getting answers, and these people are telling me the same thing. They're cutting our hours. You know, we used to hire, but now we're getting selective of people because we don't have enough money to pay most of the employees. And see, this is what I'm talking about, and I know that it's getting bad. Just like I had an argument with the Uber driver, with the whole Uber driver situation that I told you guys in my last video, that people don't really understand how bad it's really getting. I know how bad it's getting, and it's only going to continue to get worse with Iran, the tariffs, and with the government fluctuating on and off. You know, so much stuff is happening right now. And you get comments like this. It's really ridiculous. It's really ridiculous to get comments like that. Due to the simple fact that you have people like this that they do not have any respect for other people. They don't care what you have or what you bring to the table. They really don't. What they care about is themselves. They think that the job is super duper easy to get into, and it's not. People just have this, they don't know how to, they just have this really ridiculous way of thinking. You know? Now, I'm not saying everybody should have the same mindset that I have, but at the same time, people should know that the job market in 2026 is going down the drain. It is going down the money hole, and everybody has already exhausted out of all of their savings. And here's my thing. There is nothing we can do about the crazy job market in 2026. However, I think it's important that a lot of Americans that are playing stupid with no common sense, and they act like there is no such thing as the job market crisis, which is like saying there's no such thing as people getting laid off on their jobs, when you literally have thousands and thousands and thousands of YouTube channels of people that are displaying a lot of TikTok videos on YouTube, on TikTok, complaining how they got laid off, complaining about the cost of living, complaining about, talking about the jobs. And now that the jobs are cutting down hours, it's going to be impossible to even pay the rent, because the jobs are falling behind. They're not even catching up to the rent costs. And the reason why they're not reaching up to the rent costs is because of the fact that, the government is shutting down partially. It's starting to crumble. And then, the war of Iran is still going on, along with some other things, with tariffs and inflation. And it's starting to hurt most of these companies. Not only that, you have AI that's taking over. Now in stores there's more people doing self-checkout than there are people who are doing checkouts with a person activating a cashier. But most individuals like this, they tend to ignore and act oblivious to what's going on around them. They refuse to make themselves aware of the situations that's going on. And when you have people like that are being ignorant to the world, as long as it's not happening to them, and the only reason this person is like this because this person obviously has a job, but they just don't like it when people address these issues. So what they do is they have a hissy fit, and they throw tantrums in the comment section, and then this is the type of results that we get. This commenter right here is the same situation I had with the Uber driver. I was being reasonable, and I told him about that. He made a statement talking about, oh, well, you just never know. There could be people that is just pretending like they don't have a job, like they're getting. So you mean to tell me that after Amazon has just laid off 14 million Americans, and we're just gonna sit here and be like, oh, well, maybe it's just made up. Maybe people didn't get laid off. Most of them probably just quit, or whatever the case may be, right? Or people are sitting, like, people is literally thousands upon thousands of TikTok videos of people complaining about the cost of living, how the jobs are not even keeping up with it. And then on top of that, gas prices is so high right now. Not to mention the getting your car maintenance, your tires rotated. Then if you need to get another battery, and then what's really making people broke due to the fact that most of these jobs are not paying the way they should pay anymore. It gets to the point where now they're exalting their savings. So once their savings is exhausted, now all of a sudden it gets to a point where they have to move in with family. No shame in moving in with family when times get tough. But you also got delinquent-minded people that think that they shouldn't be living with their family, that they have to already own their own house and their own car and everything. But what if that person don't have a car? What if that person don't have the things that you think that he should have? And it's always so much pressure on a guy. I ain't trying to go into relationships here, but it's always so much pressure on people in this country that feel like they have to have all of these things to be redeemed somebody that's worth dealing with. Somebody that is being redeemed of their attention. And I'm really tired of it. I don't know about you, but I'm really tired of it. And I'm pretty sure that I'm not the only person that knows that the job crisis of 2026, the job market is getting crazier and crazier and crazier. Jobs are getting to the point where they're not trying to hire a whole lot of people like they used to. And that's because now it's getting to the point that most of these jobs don't have a lot of money and budgeting to be able to afford. Because the thing is, when these customers, when they get customers that come in, and when they start spending money trying to buy groceries and stuff, this is where people get most of their money from. That's how most of these companies make their money, through the customers. So the more money they have coming in, you know, the more chances of people getting, the more money that people get, especially those who's working overtime. This is how you get your paychecks. This is how the payroll is run. But people don't tell you that. So if you don't have no customers coming in, and you know, going to these supermarkets, I mean, it's really hitting the restaurants too. Because even the fast food restaurants, they're starting to get a little selective of who they choose and who they want to come in. So if you got that going on, where people are getting selective and people are getting to the point where they trying to, you know, get to somewhere, you know, especially when you got Walmart out of all places, where people are always hiring. What does that say about the rest of the retailers? Of course, they got benefits and everything, probably. But at the same time, it's getting rough out here. I met people that got bachelor's degrees in financing, and people that got 6 years degrees and getting into criminal justice and, you know, other types of niche degrees that they have, or niche or whatever you want to call it. I'm just gonna call it a niche, because I don't know, people call it a niche, and then you got some people calling it a niche, so they don't even know how to pronounce or what they say, so we're gonna call it a niche. A niche is, for those of you that don't know what a niche is a term that is used, for instance, where you have to find something that you're good at as something that you can do, and you have to stick or niche down that one particular thing. Let's say if you're doing a YouTube video about being a gamer, okay? And let's say you want to do MMO or RPG games like Pokemon, Paper Mario, other games such as that, right? So you're only gonna play games that specialize in whatever genre that you're playing in. So to make this more simpler, let's say if you're starting a cooking, you know what, I don't want to do what other YouTubers are doing, so we're gonna do this. Let's say you want to talk about let's say you want to talk about, do videos talking about Python, right? How to do Python and how to code. You don't want to start a computer, I'm sorry guys, I'm so tired. You don't want to, so what you do is, your niche for that is you're teaching people how to code. Now, the thing that you don't want to do is you don't want to teach people how to code. Next thing you know, you're teaching people how to build a computer from scratch all the way up, or and then this video is like teaching people how to fix their computer in case if it won't turn on, or this is not getting a charge, or whatever the case is. So those are things that you don't want to do. What's going on with this? Okay. So That's what a niche is. A niche is something that you find something, like if you want to do traveling videos, you know, you don't want to do a traveling video going to Paris, but then also you're doing a live stream playing Super Mario Sunshine on your channel. So that's what a niche is. You have to stick to one thing and stick with it. So basically, when it comes to doing I don't even know what I was talking about. I was getting a niche. So you have to stick with, it's just different niche of jobs that you want to do, right? That's where I was at. Different niche of jobs you want to do that people are doing and got degrees, and they're not guaranteed to get a job in these fields that they're putting themselves into. Okay? So when you have commenters like that, that's because they are oblivious to what's going on, you know? And this could be a troll. You never know, right? And I put these videos out there because I know that there's somebody out there that is probably listening, that is probably watching from the clouds, that understands that, yes, I agree, it is really tough out here. And it really is. I'm going through it. I've been homeless for 6 years, as I said in my other video, and now I'm all the way up in here in Alaska, barely making it. And I'm gonna tell you, I have applied to a lot of jobs and have not heard back from any single one of them. That's sad. But that's just the way it is today. Now, enough with the intro. Let's get started. Now, if you don't agree with some of the things that I'm talking about, which most of the things that I'm talking about and the most trending thing that's being talked about all over social media right now is the job market crisis, the cost of living, and the gas prices are going up. All of these things are pretty much the talk of social media. There is like thousands upon thousands upon thousands of TikTok videos that are talking about this. So if that's you and you don't want to hear any of this and you want to be like this commenter right here that are they just don't really care about the job market, the only thing that they can do is be ignorant towards what's going on around them and what's actually happening, and they just rather just be that person, and they just comment, and they just think that, you know, a lot of people are just whining about how they can't get a job, and people get written off as being lazy and all these other things, when clearly they don't really know you. They don't know me. They don't know what I went through. Well, if they took the time to actually understand me by watching some of my videos, they would have understood why it's getting to this point. But you have commenters like this that they don't do their research. They ignore the signs that are out there because it's not happening to them yet. They're not feeling it yet. But when they start to lose their job, their whole tune starts to change. That's no different than if a guy experienced a bad relationship and his girlfriend, he walked in on his girlfriend cheating on him in the bedroom with another man. And the guy and the other person says, hey, well, me and my girlfriend got together. I didn't think we were going to be together, but here we are. And then once the very same thing happens to that person than it did to the other guy that told the other guy that he was cheating on him, that he was cheated on and lied to, then their whole attitude changes. So that's how this commenter is. This commenter is still living in a rainbow, butterfly, unicorn universe. And they just not really the type of people where they want to understand what's going on. These type of commenters, they don't really care about trying to understand people from different walks of life. And I'm pretty sure this commenter knows that the job market is getting bad out here. But some people come on social media and I guess they feel the need to, type something, because if they don't do it, then they end up going crazy. Now, let's move on to job updates. So HR has called me today, and unfortunately I got terminated. So basically I no longer work as a security guard anymore. And I was told that I was recording while I was at work, when I was actually recording outside of the building. They didn't show me the proof, but apparently they said that they saw the proof. So, if I'm not seeing the proof, because only times that I remember recording myself, because I was doing YouTube shorts that day, and the only time that I was recording, if you go into some of my shorts, you've seen that I was recording while I was at work. But I was getting off from work. But I had to do my rounds one last time before I left. And with the time differences, with us setting our clocks forward 1 hour, the time has changed. So I think I did one time, because only thing I can honestly remember is I recorded myself during the time when I was getting ready to go. But they're saying that I was in uniform when I was recording myself. So I don't really remember. However, apparently they saw the proof. I didn't get to see the proof. But at the same time, the next big thing, so it's pretty much my fault on that. So I'll just take the blame for it. I was really sick of that job anyway, because it felt like I was out of place and people were reporting me for stupid stuff, and especially the teenagers that were working there. So that wasn't a good combination, because there was just a lot of people that were just so distant. They were just they just acted like I was a threat in the workplace, which brings me to the next reasoning. So they also fired me for let's see, what did they fire me for? Sexual harassment. Although the story kept constantly changing by the time it got to HR. And I kept telling them, which was a waste of my time, because it's like, what's the point in sitting here telling them that I didn't do it? They don't care whether you did it or not. The fact of the matter is, I'm getting fired for sexually harassing a coworker at the theater. It was a 16, 17-year-old girl that went to the manager and accused me of trying to talk to her. When, I talked to a lot of people at the place. There were a lot of teenagers that worked there. I talked to them. I said, hey, how you doing? And as a matter of fact, I was sharing a break room with a bunch of teenagers and was told by the manager that I was not allowed to be in the break room. So if I'm not allowed to be in the break room, how am I supposed to take my break? So by their logic, I'm not supposed to take a break in the break room. It was only just for the teenagers that work at the theater. And I think that's kind of unfair to the security guard that's keeping everybody safe, and that person can't take a break. So you just working your security guards down. Cause I had to walk all over the theater. And you guys seen my YouTube shorts of what I have to do. Even though I wasn't supposed to be recording, even though there are times a lot of times actually, that I recorded outside of my working hours. You see what I had to go through. You see how big that entire theater is, right? I have to walk around an entire theater every hour, inside and out. I have to go through every individual auditorium. I have to do that every hour, every day. No breaks. And that's the only thing that I didn't like about that job. I was not allowed to take breaks to do anything. But I toughed it out. So the teenage girl, we're gonna call her Sarah. So basically what happened was HR told me that I'm getting fired for sexual harassment and recording at a public establishment while I was on duty. So the thing is, they accused me of sexual harassment because HR said, oh, well, because she's a minor and because she says that you were doing something, regardless of any proof or not, we're gonna have to get rid of you. That's right, guys. So what happened was the head manager for the theater told me that to stay away from this teenage girl. Apparently she reported me that I was bothering her, right? Even though I wasn't bothering her. I spoke to her here and there, but it wasn't like an everyday thing. It was like every so often or every blue moon. Then it got to the point where the story changed to the fact that my supervisor told me that I was following a teenage girl around, which I highly doubt that they even looked through the cameras to even see that, because when HR called me, they still brought that up. They still threw that out there. So then I heard, so from what HR told me, is the teenager said that she tried to tell me to stop, but I kept going. And I'm like, that's not true. She didn't tell me to do anything. I don't even talk to her like that. Why are people sitting up there lying and said that I was harassing her? I did not do anything to any of these people. I treated them all with respect. and I was working most of the time. Do they even have camera footages of me following her around or trying to talk to her? Because I never talked to her. As a matter of fact, I even asked one of the managers, can I use the break room? But to use their break room, their office, to eat, so I wouldn't have to be anywhere near that girl. So if I'm supposed to be doing my rounds, that would mean I would have to walk eggshells around her. But we're gonna bump into each other at some point. So they just kind of changed the story on that, and HR didn't tell me everything. My supervisor didn't tell me everything. What got me upset today was the fact that they literally accused me of sexual harassment. And I was not doing such a thing. And it was completely useless for me to tell them about that, because it's like, they're still firing me for something I didn't do. So if you're a guy, so the moral of this story, if you are a dude and you work at a theater or any other establishment that has a bunch of teenagers mixed in with a bunch of grown-ups, and they are females, do not talk to them. Keep them at arm's length, okay? Because they will lie and they will say stuff just to cover themselves. They will do stuff like that just simply because they don't even like you. They'll make up stuff. They will lie, because that's what happened to me. I had a 16-year-old, 17-year-old teenager lied on me and said that I was sexually harassing her, I was bothering her, I was doing all these things. Then when I told the managers about it, they just brushed it off. They just didn't really care. They really just didn't care. And I'm just like, what's the point of these people in a manager position? They just don't care. They just like, oh, well, you're the security guard, so I'm hearing what you're saying, but I just don't care. So they just basically did everything they can just to get me out of there. So I'm just like, it's fine. It's perfectly fine. I just don't like being accused of something that I didn't do. It's quite aggravating. It is very aggravating. Because I did not do anything to this teenage girl. But yet, she lied and said that she tried to tell me to stop. That was a lie. She didn't try to tell me anything. And that's the same incident that I had when I was at the Fifth Avenue Mall. Only this one was an adult. She lied in the report saying that she asked me many times to leave the store and I didn't leave. That was a lie. So it's like now people are getting to the point where you can't talk to them. You cannot be friendly to them. You have to be like a robot when it comes to working a job with a bunch of strangers that you don't know. So when I look at these comments here, people like this that you run into every day at work will get you fired. So now I'm in the process of looking for something else, which is hard in this job market that we live in. I don't think I'm gonna ever work for a security company again, because it's not so much of the recording aspect of it. I can take the heat for that. I shouldn't have been recording. But when it came to the sexual harassment part, I never sexually harassed anybody. Tell me, these people will lie on you and they'll say all kinds of stuff. They'll say whatever they can cause you to lose your job. It's really ridiculous. It is really ridiculous. And then to have the head manager tell that lie, saying that a minor says that I was doing that. Okay, have you looked at the cameras to see if what she's saying is true? Or you're just taking her word at face value and you're running with it? Got HR consistently telling me that I'm sexually harassing this girl when you know I'm not sexually harassing this girl. I mean, they have cameras. But anyway, so that's what happened. So they let me go after that. And I'm gonna tell you this right now. I really don't give a shit. I took those uniforms and I threw it in the trash. I really don't give a shit. I'm not going all the way down there to return the uniforms. I don't care what you guys say. I don't care. You can say, oh, well, you could get in trouble for that, or you can do this. I really don't care. Because what I just went through was utter BS. And my thing is, they don't deserve to have their uniform back. I don't give a damn about that company. I really don't. And the thing is, it's like, it's just so ridiculous to get accused of something that you never did. And then they take it and run with it just because it's a minor. So we're just gonna take what she says at face value and we're just gonna run with it. That's where it was getting at. Couldn't even talk to the supervisor. And when I was talking to her, it was just like I was talking a bunch of noise to her. That company makes me sick. So what I did, I blocked all their numbers. And I took the uniforms and I threw them in the trash. That's what I did. Because at the same time, for me to get accused of something that I didn't do versus what I did do, telling me something what I did do is one thing. But when you're accusing me of sexual harassment, that is something totally different. So, and as for the record, I will never go to that theater again. I'm just gonna go to another theater that's not too far from here. Watch a movie there. And then head back. That's what I'm gonna do. Because this is ridiculous. So that's pretty much it that I have for this video. Now, comment let me know, like, have you ever been in a situation like this where people accuse you and they say you actually did something, but turn around and accuse you of something that you didn't really do at all? Comment down below. Let me know your experiences and where you're watching me from. And believe me, I am looking at comments. Alright. This is Chaos here. And I will be back with another video.